All right. Welcome to another edition of In Conversation here on Rock Show Critique. Today's special guest is Mr. Steve Blaze from Lilian Axe. Welcome.
Hey Joe, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. It's an honor to sit here and talk to you about this new album that is going to be coming out here on August 19th, From Womb to Tomb.
Yeah, that's actually an idea I would say that I have had to do this record for probably my whole life. It was just waiting for the right time. It's conceptual in that it encompasses all of the ideas and lessons and things that I have witnessed and learned throughout my life. But it's relatable to anyone. I think all people, whether we have different paths in our lives, these moments and these lessons and these things that we discover as we are born through the end of our lives here are all similar to each other, even though we have different roads. So it starts off with the birth of the child in the beginning and the entity existence of a new entity that I believe will live forever, all the way up through all the things that I have witnessed in life till the end of a person's life and ascension into heaven. So actually had the title a long time ago too. It was just waiting for the right time to do this. And we've been recording it for 3 years, and we've taken our time with it. We wrote and recorded in chronological order. So the first song was the first song recorded and written, and then all the way through, all the way up until the end. So we knew we wanted to get it out before we go to Europe. So we really had to kind of hustle, and get it done. But it came out, timing was perfect, and everything came out very well. So we're just excited to see how everybody reacts to it next week.
Yeah, that's interesting that you guys actually recorded it in chronological order. You don't see nothing like that happen too often. That was definitely a good concept there to do it like that.
Yeah, and when the first few records came out, we would do like all drums and then all bass and then all guitars, blah blah blah, and just do it like that. And I changed that philosophy probably maybe around Psycho Schizophrenia record. I wanted to do it song at a time so that we weren't having this homogenized sound. You go and do all the drums and then all the drums sound alike, because the drummer, you're set up in mic. So we do all the drums and then we do all the bass and all the guitars. I don't like doing it like that. I changed that. I want to do song at a time. So we concentrate strictly on that song and getting that done before we even move on to the next one. And that's how we handled this. But in this case, we also, for most of the songs, didn't even write them until it was time to go record them. So I would get to the point, I wanted to be mentally fresh on each idea as we went into it. And that's one of the reasons why it took 3 years to get it done, because we were halfway through it and half of it hadn't been written yet. So
Well, it probably helped that you had a lot of downtime with the pandemic. That probably helped things out too.
probably, but even in the pandemic time, I keep myself very, very busy. So I didn't have not a lot of R&R even during the pandemic.
So it was 10 years ago that you came out with your previous album.
Yep.
What'd you do during all that time frame?
Well, we still were playing, still doing shows, doing some festivals and the Monsters of Rock cruise and playing here and there. We put out a double live acoustic CD and DVD documentary called One Night in the Temple. And then we just kept playing. I kept writing. And, during that time, we needed to, we found a new label. The label we're on was a great label, but it was financially stressed, and it kind of kept us from being able to get back in and do what we needed to do. So then we, a year ago, we signed this new deal and made a couple of band member changes, new drummer, new singer. That worked out. So we kind of were revamping everything. In the meantime, I was, always continuing to create and move forward with the band, but it just took up time, just flew by. It went a lot faster. I don't like waiting 10 years to do a record, and hopefully I don't have to do that again. But it's a way, I guess, God's vision for me. So I just kind of trust in him and do the best I can and let things fall into place.
So how you guys are going to be now on Global Rock Records when this album comes out here? Tell us about how you got hooked up with them.
Yeah, actually, the A&R guy for Global Rock, Giles Lavery, he contacted our drummer Wayne. He knew Wayne, I guess, from the internet, and then Wayne joined the band, and he's like, "Oh, I love Lilian Axe. I'd like to sign him to this new label we're coming out with." So it's a new label. It's a division of Store for Music in the UK, which is a big reissue label. And this is we're the first signing. And they not only signed us for the new album, but they reissued the whole catalog. So all the past albums are reissued as well. And we've got a vinyl deal coming out. So a lot of the old ones will be coming out on vinyl as well. And, this is our first studio record with them. And so far, it's been great. They've been really, really good. So as we move forward, hopefully we just have a long-term relationship here.
So they have the rights to all the old albums that you had from like MCA and IRS and everything.
Yes, they have the rights to reissue the albums. The only ones that we couldn't do anything with are the first two because they're Universal owns them. But they're working something out with them on that. But everything from Out of the Darkness into the Light, Poetic Justice, Psycho, all the other albums since then have been reissued.
Okay. All right. And as far as the album itself is concerned, for touring purposes, obviously you got a UK tour coming up here towards the end of the month here. What's the plans for the US?
Well, right now we've got a few festivals we're doing. As a matter of fact, right before we go over there, we're doing the Monsters on the Mountain. And then we come back in September, we're doing the Rocktember in Minnesota. We've got a few gigs down south set up, but we're in the process of maybe signing a new management deal. And one of the first things we're looking into is what is a good feasible tour plan for us to start like towards the end of the year, maybe even wait until the beginning of the year and see if things start to, if the album, let it get its legs and then look out to hit the road and maybe do like a 2 or 3 band thing. But we have to see what happens, what's available and what's the right move for us. But we don't want to jump into it too quick. So we are doing shows and we have things set up and lined up. But as far as like going out on a full tour, we got to be smart about it and find the right situation. We don't want to just, hop in a vehicle and run around the country like chickens with their heads cut off. There's a lot of good festivals coming up and a lot of countries we still need to go to as well.
Yeah, you guys recently in May played the M3 festivals. Is that the first time you've ever played it there?
Yeah, that's the first time we did M3. It was amazing. I mean, one of the most efficiently run festivals I've ever played in my life. It was fantastic. And it was cold and rainy.
Oh.
Yeah, but the thing is that the pavilion is, there's a top over the outside of it. It's just like the sides are open, right? So, it was cold and rainy, which is fine. I love cold, rainy weather. I don't like it. I'd rather be cold than hot, So, but it was really well done, and we had a blast doing it. So now we're doing Monsters on the Mountain next week, and that's going to be supposed to be another great festival. I think it's a newer festival, but it's done by the same people that do Monsters of Rock Cruise, which we've done 6. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. It's a good warm up for us to get to the UK.
Okay. Now getting back to the new album here, what would you consider like the highlight of the album or highlights in your opinion?
On this record, I really don't have any. Sometimes on some of the records, I have some songs that I tend to I wrote them all. So it's like picking what's your favorite kid, right? Mm-hmm. So, but some of the highlights, I think to me, I guess the one thing that kind of just really takes a lot out of me is a song called Feelings of Absence, because my son, when he was about 6 or 7 years old, actually wrote the opening riff on his keyboard, didn't even realize what he was doing. And I used that riff. The last 3 tracks are called Finally Clarity, which is a monologue that sets up From the Mountaintops and then Ascension. those 3 songs are there, probably the most powerful and emotional songs ever written by me. And I've let people close to me hear them, and they've all been brought to tears. And it's a really emotional 3-song setup. And it's about the individual, the human being passing away, finding clarity in his life, and then ascending to heaven. And it's massively epic. And those would probably be, I guess, if I had to pick something that highlights a little bit above everything else, that would be it.
Okay, yeah, I definitely From the Mountaintops definitely caught my ear. Well, the way
Yeah,
it starts off and the way it gets going and finishes there. So
yeah, it's tune the guitars down like 2.5 steps, the entire guitar down low to get that really, really rich, big guitar tone. And it just worked out really well. We've got tubular bells and choirs. The choir that you hear in there is actually Brent and I. We created a 108 voice choir, just the 2 of us, overdub after overdub after overdub, 54 overdubs. And that's not a choir. That's Brent and I building a choir. Like build a choir. So that's what we did.
Now, how is this album? How are you going to be able to perform this album? Because there's a lot of stuff on here that might be hard to replicate on stage here. Replicate.
Yeah, there are certain songs in there that we play. We're actually starting off. We have a new video for "I Am Beyond." That's the opening song on the record. Well, it's the second song, but it's our opening set. So in our new show, we play "Breathe" throughout the PA as the opener, and we go right into "I Am Beyond." There's a video coming out 10 a.m. Central Time, debuts Friday. So we'll be sending links out at that time to go to Global Rock website to see the new video for I Am Beyond. We're playing that in Great Deception right off the bat. We've got about 4 or 5 other ones we can. If we wanted to one day, maybe we would like do the whole album with an orchestra and something like that. But you're right, there's a lot going on in this album. It's an epic record. There are a lot of musical interludes, there are choirs, there's strings, there's B3s, there's tubular bells or timpanis, there's maggots and flies and dragons and thunder and lightning, and that's all besides the band. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but we still can play most of the stuff out live without having to compromise anything.
All right, that sounds good. Now let's go back in time for a little moment here. Let's finish. As far as Poetic Justice, that album was the one where I really started to recognize and get into the band when I was younger. Right. Tell us first. Let's start off with the album cover. How did that all come about for the design?
The original album cover was, which you could still see. Remember when they used to do long boxes for CDs, the big cardboard long boxes?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you have one of those, it has a picture of a judge underwater, and if you look, it's taken from underneath him, from within the water, and you're looking out, and on the side of the pool, you can see the old lady with the axe. So that's what the label wanted to originally have as the cover. So this drowning judge, like, the beacon of justice, is sent to his watery grave by Lilian Axe, the woman with the axe standing on the side of the pool. But they had to film it from underwater, right? And it didn't really visually come out the way that they anticipated. So at that point, they said, hey, this strong image of this old grandmother right here. So they sent me a bunch of headshots of elderly models. So who's we had to pick from about 10 different elderly women's mug shots who would represent Lillian the best on the cover, and we picked the one that we thought looked more like what I had in mind, and she made the cover, and that was it. And it was either liked it or you hated it. A lot of people really liked it, thought it was just the weirdest thing. And so kind of became a little tongue-in-cheek representation of the band with our picture up on the wall. So that's how that album cover came about. It wasn't originally going to be the cover, but
It definitely stands out for sure.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so getting back to the album, tell us about how you guys came up with the big song from the album that got you all the airplay or most of the airplay there, True Believer.
You know, I knew when I wrote the song, look, I never write songs with anything in mind. Like I'm going to create this to be this. I just don't do it. I just write a song because it moves me, because the idea moves me, because I feel that in my heart and I concentrate, and that's what I do. So I didn't write that to be a single. But after we wrote it, the label and everybody around realized that it fits the format. And at that time, unfortunately, you know, there was a format to be fit. So I had to kind of pay attention to it. And that it did well. It became a top 40 hit. And, you know, it put us on the map, so to speak. So, you know, I'm not like one of those artists that says, oh, their biggest song, I'll never play it out live. I hate that song. That's not us. Well, it is us. It's a major part of us. And I'll probably play that song till I die, because it's one of our most popular songs. So, you know, people like it, they recognize it. And, you know, it was nothing other than a song about, you know, people staying strong in their beliefs, and kind of an anthemic song, so to speak. So, but it had the format for radio. So it worked.
Now, you also did a cover of the Badfinger cover, No Matter What. Was that something you wanted to do, or was that something the record label decided to say, hey, we need another song on here? How did that all come about?
Oh, and you know, we never needed cover songs because we always had so many songs to pick from. Every album had songs that never made it. I still have a huge back catalog of songs, even from back then, that never made it. It just never wasn't the right time for it. It wasn't that they weren't as good. They just weren't the right fit at the time. So we were originally going to do the Badfinger song, If You Want It, Here It Is, Come and Get It. And some kind of way we started thinking, what we love Badfinger, so we wanted to do one. There were a few songs we liked, and then we heard No Matter What, and we demoed it, and it wound up coming out great. So it was just we liked Badfinger, and we wanted to do it, you know, because I mean there's only 2 cover songs we've ever done, that and My Number, and it was because well, I didn't really, My Number was a different reason why we put that on the record, but I wanted to do a Badfinger song on this album. So
Yeah, and it got some airplay, so it worked out well.
yeah, yeah. And we had a video for it that got a little airplay on MTV, but you know, it is what it is. I would probably go back and probably not have released that as a single, but you know, a lot of people, there are a lot of other bands, including Def Leppard, that did versions of that as well. And people have always really, I've never heard anybody say that we didn't do a good job on it. They loved the version that we did because we edged it up and picked it up. It's heavier, it's harder. The guitars are, you know, they're just modernized it a little bit. So we still, I still love the song.
Yeah. All right. The last thing I want to talk about on that album is the two of the album's best songs, actually, in my opinion, are actually "See You Someday" and "Living in the Gray." Those songs are back to pretty much right next to each other on the album. And man, oh man, why weren't these ones? These songs should have been huge. They should have been huge.
Those are the 2 songs that I would have picked for the next 2 singles: "Living in the Gray" second, and then "See You Someday." I mean, seriously, and not saying it because I wrote it, but "See You Someday," how the heck could that not be a massive hit? Seriously, right? I mean, how many people listen to that song and don't at least feel something inside? You know, it definitely should have been a single. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. Do you guys get to play those songs much anymore?
We actually play "See You Someday" out live. We haven't done "Living in the Gray" in a while, just because we have so many records to pick from. But we've been playing "See You Someday" live for the last couple of years.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I would love to see
Funny
those.
that you do, because those are the 2 that I would have picked for the next 2 singles.
Yeah, I know. Like when I heard the album, I'm going, man, oh man, why didn't we hear these on the radio? I mean, I know they played the other two songs, which were good up on our, we're in, the Buffalo area. So we got to hear the two big ones on the radio on our local rock radio, the Fox. But these
Mhm.
other two, I wish they would have been on there.
Me too, buddy. That would have, I think that would have been a big boost for us. But
No, at that time, obviously, that's when things really started to change. So it really seems like bands like yourself, there's a lot of other ones that, started finally getting some airplay. And then all of
yeah,
a sudden, the whole shift in the music change.
yeah.
When did you first start noticing it? Even though you were starting to get some of that airplay, and then all of a sudden it's like everything took a quick left turn on you guys.
Well, we did the Concrete Foundations Forum, which was a big, massive hard rock thing by Concrete Foundations, which was a big management PR firm. And we played there with Soundgarden, Ozzy. Trying to think all the bands that played. There were a ton of bands that played. It was like imagine every metal band and metal fan taking over a hotel. And we were promoting Poetic Justice, and big talk was like this new album by Nevermind by Nirvana had just come out. And then we realized like, and the talk was, oh, this is a new album. This is going to be the next big record. And so like a whole different thing called grunge. And it was weird because Poetic and Psycho came out right at the time when grunge was starting to hit. And those were our biggest selling records. So who knows? I have no idea. But yeah, you could see it because all the magazines like Rolling Stone had to put something out, the death of glam metal or hair metal, whatever they wanted to call it. So all the press who had a major role in this whole division, which is so stupid. And I'm tired of, different entities thriving off of division, right? So why do we have to divide music? Oh, now you can't like that. Now that music sucks now. Now we're going to go into this. Why? Why can't it just be, hey, here's some new bands? Heard thunder? Getting rain in it. Why can't it just be about, oh, this is a new, some new bands, it's a little different. They dress a little different, a little style, but hey, there's room for everything. No, we have to like, okay, this is the new thing. You can't have this anymore. This sucks. This is good. And that's horrible and it's divisive. And if, and you see that everywhere. You see that in politics. You see that in business. You see that in entertainment. You see that everywhere. We've got too much division going on. How about let's just like, don't say it's the death of hair metal or whatever the heck that is. Just say, hey, there's some new bands coming out too. You can dig Poison and Rat and Queensryche and Crew, and you can also like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. So it's all good. Plenty of room, guys. Plenty of room for everyone. So, but that's when that started, and how long did that last before that petered out? And now we've got the last 2.5 decades of nothing. So.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the record companies would seem like to be the main culprits, really, because they're the ones that really had the power to keep things going, at least, and then they decided to pull the plug on all those type of bands.
And why? Because they thought they would make a quick buck on it. Because most bands were just like selling a can of vegetables. It was a product. Okay, well, we go to this. Oh, this could be the next big thing. So let's jump on this, sign a bunch of these guys, and see what sticks. And what happens after 5 to 6 years of grunge? That ran its course. Let's go to something else. Only they haven't been able to come up with anything else of any quality since then. So all the good bands that are still out there struggling have to fight that whole, lack of music industry knowledge that's out there. So, and so what do they sign now? They sign giant pop artists who, you know what I'm saying? Is all the kids now have to go back to, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago and find the really good bands. And thank God some of us are still out there just not giving up, continuing to play, continue to put music out and still flying the flag.
Yeah, and that's true, because a lot of bands, like Poison and a lot of those other big bands that were really big at one time, if you look back, some of them only made like a handful of albums, and here they are still touring off those same albums and not really creating new music. So I mean, creating new music, obviously, if you're in a band is huge, because you want to be able to grow your music. I mean, obviously with your band, you can see the difference from each album, how
Yeah,
the progressions and everything has changed. And that's
I
where
agree.
yeah,
You know, there are bands that just they want to rely, they won't do new music. And I respect both sides of the coin. If that's what you want to do and you just want to continue to just be a nostalgia act and live off of what you've done in the past, that's great, because hey, please go out and do it. We want to see you. But on the other side of that, there's a whole mindset of I want to keep on making music because I want to keep on giving out to our fans. I want to keep blowing them away. I want them, oh man, I love that. And now I have this, and I want to move them. I want to make them happy. I want to, I know the excitement when you get a new album from a band that you like. It's great. And I want to keep doing that. I don't want to just sit back and play the first few records. I want to play everything, but I've got to always keep on creating. That's the whole reason I'm playing music in the first place.
exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you for your time. I'm glad we were able to sit down and talk here about the new album. Remember, Womb to Tomb is coming out on August the 19th, Global Rock Records. You'll be able to get it wherever you get your music. And any last words you want to leave us with?
Well, just follow us on lilianaxe.com, but on Facebook, of course, Lilian Axe, and Steve Blaze sites, and all the other guys are on there too as well. New album comes out August 19th. The physical copy that you get has all the lyrics. It's a great package, but digital download's good for your phone too, so you can get them both.
Yeah.
And I have my own guitar pickup. It's a humbucker from a company called Carondelet Pickups in Louisiana. It's called Blaze Bucker, and it's an amazing guitar pickup. All you guitar players out there, check it out. Go to Carondelet Guitars and Basses website. And other than that, we're just excited to get this thing out August 19th. Check it out. And thank you for your time, Joe. Appreciate it, man. It's nice to meet you.
All right. Same here.